and here we have the seeds collected. And I typically put these inside of these plastic sleeves. Hi guys, welcome to WeSow, and today I'm going to be talking about how you can save seed, and this is going to be the first video where I do this, and I'm going to be talking about plants that I've dealt with specifically over the last year or so, and in this case it will be saving seed from rocket, from lettuce, from chamomile, and from cucumbers. Hopefully in future episodes I'll share how to do the same for some other plants, but for now I'll show you these so that we can get started. When thinking about this area of seed saving, there are two main things that I think are important to consider. Firstly is why we would save seed, and the main reason is that it minimizes our dependency on having to make a purchase at the beginning of the growing season in order to grow a particular plant. And you find that when you get good at this, that for some plants it will be completely unnecessary for you to have to keep making purchases every time you want to grow, as you'll have an abundant supply that you can get seed for year on year. The second consideration is the type of plants and how they typically generate seed. So in some cases it may be from flowers, where the flowers are allowed to grow to their full potential and then die, and then the actual flowers, after they've obviously been pollinated and stuff, they will set seed and you have to wait till the right time to collect those. Another case is if it is from a plant that produces fruit, you may have to collect the seeds from the actual fruit. However, that's typically depending on the maturity of the fruit, and for certain plants you have to really watch to know when the fruit is mature enough for you to be able to successfully save seed. Another area to do with saving seed as well, when it comes to the type of fruit or the type of plant, is also if it's a grain plant and if it has heads. And so therefore what you'd be saving are individual grains from the actual heads, be it corn, be it wheat, things of that nature. And then obviously things such as beans. In the case of beans, we would typically leave those to grow till they pretty much dry out, and then you get these beans inside the pods that have become already dry and hard and can be utilized for seed. So those are just some principles, but as mentioned, I'm going to get into the specifics of the type of seed that we're going to be talking about today. Hi all, just thought I'd take the time to talk about saving seeds, and specifically here I have some rockets, and on the left are the seeds and on the right is a pod. So how I was able to get these seeds is that last year we grew some rocket and we allowed the plants to overwinter. And what happened was that in spring the flowers came up, and the flowers, after being pollinated, turned to pods. So we allowed the plants to die off. Some start to die off naturally, but then others, when they're kind of near to the end of their life, we just pull them out. And so what we then did is we just have what's left of them here inside this bag, and you can see there's a lot of these dead rocket plants. If you look, you can see all these pods. Now, to have your own seed collection, what you can do is, once you've done this and you've saved all of these plants with these tons of pods that have been dried out fully, you can take these pods, as you can see here, and what happens is that on each side of the pod are some seeds, and in the middle is a bit of like plant material, or almost like a sheet which separates. So you need to make sure that you break this so that both sides the seeds fall out. So all I have to do here is just squeeze, and you can see the seeds starting to fall out. And then you can see what I'm talking about here, where there's this little membrane. So you want to make sure you get all the seeds as they come out. And when I like to do this, what I do is I tend to prefer to use some tissue or kitchen towel when it comes to very small seeds, so that if I'm trying to extract any that I've saved, that's easy to see them. So this is just to show you guys how you can have your own sustainable seed collection by just allowing some of the plants to bolt. And bolting basically just is where we allow the plants to grow and grow until they start to make flowers, and until those flowers start to turn to seed. And usually in the case of green vegetables, we normally grow the vegetables for the leaves and we harvest them before they bolt. But if we want to have some for the following year, it's important to allow just some of them at least to, or even all of them, depending on what it is, to just reach the end of their life cycle by making flowers. Today I'm just showing you how I've saved some seed from a planting last year. So what I have here is just the dried out remnants of lettuce plant, and the tops of these would have been the flowers that had gone to seed from last year. And so what we do is we just take the tops of these, and as you can see, what we have here is inside are the seeds. The seeds have begun to fall out now that everything is decomposed. So then what I then simply have to do is I've just taken this piece of tissue and I just drop and shake my seeds out, and I make sure that I separate any debris that I find. So this is just a little quick example just to show that when we do get through the end of our growing season, we can actually save some things which will help us for the following year. So now if I go through these, I'll have some more seeds to add to my seed collection. A really cool thing we've noticed during our walks in the countryside near our home is that chamomile is quite common, and we've noticed that when the crops are harvested, that the chamomile plants that have been growing as they do year on year begin to be revealed. And we have found that since we've identified this, that we can't help but notice chamomile almost everywhere. It can be easy to mistake from a daisy, but there are some differentiating characteristics. Like the mature head of a chamomile plant is a lot more bulbous, and also you'll notice some differences in the leaves as well. And it tends to grow in quite big clumps together and tends to cover an area rather than just growing in some grass. So the idea was that I would just collect some, pot it up, and see if I could keep a plant and sow seed every year so that I could grow my own, as the flowers make, I would believe, better tea than if you buy pre-made chamomile. Here we have the dried out head of a chamomile plant, and this is just an example of what happens when the flowers start to go to seed. And what's happened is that I've just left this to go to seed, to dry out fully. And the way that I can save seed is quite easy. It's called deadheading, which is basically where you allow this to fully mature, go to seed, and dry out. And so now that it's ready, what I just simply have to do is I can just press my finger on it, and you can see all of these chamomile seeds have now come out. And then I simply just have to bag these up, and now I can just sow my own chamomile seeds. So just another quick example of the process of seed saving. To save cucumber seeds, what you need to do is allow one of your actual cucumber fruit to mature, and usually that's when it gets to the maximum size or near maximum size it can, and the fruit starts to turn a little bit lighter than the normal dark green. And at that point, when you slice it, you should then find you'll have seeds, but hopefully they'll be viable. So what you then do is take those seeds, put them on a paper towel, let those dry out so that all the flesh dries off and it's completely dry. And then providing that there's no indentation on the seeds or any hollowness, then you should know that those seeds are viable if they're nice and solid. And here we have the seeds collected. And I typically put these inside of these plastic sleeves, which you can find them online for seed storing. And then these will then be placed inside an envelope which I've labeled. So just these are examples of how you can keep the seeds organized once you have collected them.